Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Cinemacast, our podcast on movie reviews. We hope you guys are enjoying these reviews as we are bringing them out every Thursday for your delight right here on our YouTube channel, Air Entertainment. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Also, if you want to join us on our streaming channels, Twitch and Kick, links are down below as well for those, as well as the link to our X Twitter account, whatever you want to call it, along with our Discord link. If you guys are on Discord and you want to join our server for updates and much, much more, click that link down below right now. Also, if you guys are fans of the channel and you ever wish to donate to us at all, you can click that Cash App link down below and you could donate to us using Cash App. So, today's feature. This is an interesting one. Now, to remind you all, earlier this year, Disney is such a monopoly when it comes to production studios, companies within the industry. They have a monopoly, and they own so much property. And they just recently purchased Hulu this year, along with, they're partnered with Hulu, sort of, but they didn't really purchase Hulu. I should misinterpret my words there a little bit better. They purchased 20th Century Fox Studios. And this movie that you guys are seeing here, No One Will Save You, is from, now what's called 20th Century Studios. It's been rebranded to 20th Century Studios, so it's no longer Fox. Disney owns, the rights to anything that's 20th Century Fox, including a lot of well-known horror movies from back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and such. So if you're looking for a very hard R-rated Alien or Predator movie or whatever, you may not be lucky to see one. I mean, you may get lucky, who knows? We may see. Today's feature, however, is not as violent, and it's maybe a little bit most on the tense side, but not too terrifying. But this is a very interesting watch. This is a science fiction horror film that is directed and produced by Brian Duffield, starring Caitlin Dever. It is unusual among features of having only 5 words of dialogue in a 93-minute runtime. Now, I'll say that again because this movie is mostly not silent. This movie relies on atmosphere and setting and mood and just the intensity of each scene that follows. There is an interesting story that goes along with this movie, and it has 2 separate plots, maybe 3 if I can remember. It's been a little while since I watched this, but there's 2 interesting plots to this movie. And it evolves around this young girl who is played by Caitlin Dever. She is a seamstress that is still living in her childhood home, who mourns the loss of her mother and her best friend, Maud. She copes with these losses by constructing a model town in her living room. She leads a solitary existence and is shunned by the townspeople. One night she is awakened to discover an intruder in her home and discovers it is a humanoid alien. The alien uses telekinesis to subdue her, but this girl accidentally kills it with a broken fragment of a model bell tower. So, this movie, there's barely any words spoken at all. As I said, there's only about 4 or 5 words spoken in the entire movie, and it's pretty much toward the end of the movie. Now, right now, you got this girl who's kind of shunned out from the townsfolk. And you notice that when she takes her trip into town to collect, things for what she's doing at home. She's building this model of the town. Kind of like if you remember watching Beetlejuice. How the Maitlands, Alec Baldwin's character, was into models, and he was building a model town of, the town that they live in. That's pretty much what this girl does. That's her hobby. She copes with her losses by doing that. So it's, she's dealing with depression. She's dealing with, the fact that, she lost her best friend and her mother in a certain way. And the townspeople, they kind of shunned her away. They want nothing to do with her. And you can already tell that she's done something wrong, and she's well known for it. And you will eventually figure it out throughout the movie as the movie progresses. And it's in bits and pieces until you get to the end of the movie and you learn the entire story of it. Now, as I say in all the episodes of Cinemacast, there are going to be spoilers. So if you do not wish to hear any spoilers, if you want to check this movie out first, go do so. It is currently on HULU, or it should be currently on HULU. Then come back and watch the review. But when I went through and watched this movie, I had the vibe that this movie carries over from a movie called Signs. If y'all remember back in 2002, when M. Night Shyamalan directed that movie Signs that starred Mel Gibson. And it was about him, he was a priest, and he had lost his faith in God because his wife had died in a car accident. And he was not going to, he wasn't going to be a priest anymore. He was done with God. So while he's coping with that, while his family, his brother, his kids, they're hoping and praying that he would restore his faith. He would, regain his faith in God. They need him at, their weakest. He's like the strongest person, but they need him at their weakest. So while he's dealing with the loss of his wife, and he's dealing with, his faith in God, he renounced his faith in God. All the while, there's an alien invasion going on. And they discover it, and then, pretty soon, townspeople are like, oh, something's going on. But this family, who runs this cornfield in town, they start noticing things popping up, like the crop circles, messages over the radio and stuff. And his son, starts taking to, oh, something's getting ready to happen. The aliens are coming, So you got this alien invasion going on while you got Mel Gibson's character, who's mourning the loss of his wife. And, he's trying to take care of his kids the best he can with the help of his brother. And then everything just comes together in the end. And everything twists around where he beat the aliens, they rescind, they go back, they leave Earth, and things are rekindled and everything, and he's regained his faith in God and religion, and he's a priest again. This movie has those similar vibes where you see this girl, she's struggling with something, and you only get tidbits of it throughout without any dialogue whatsoever. So in the meantime, you got this slight alien invasion that's taken place in her town. And she notices it at first, but then, she plays it off. She goes to town and she starts noticing certain things. She discovers that electronic devices in her car have been rendered useless since the alien intrusion, and cycles into town, finding evidence of alien attacks on her neighbors. Now, this is part of the plot, the synopsis that I am reading, you guys. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way with. So the town appears unaffected as she makes her way to the local police station. There, she has an unexpected encounter with her best friend Maud's parents, who happen to be the chief of police and his wife. Maud's embittered mother spits in her face, and then the girl, her name is Bryn. She decides to flee the town by bus, but several passengers controlled by alien parasites attempt to restrain her. She escapes and discovers that many of the townspeople now appear to be under the aliens' control. So this also has a little bit of invasion of the body snatchers in it. Where they come down, they implant something in you, or they make what do they call it, a doppelganger of you, and they just kill off the original, and then they just have, the alien being right there and then. Bryn returns home and fortifies her house. That evening, a tractor beam from a flying saucer carries the alien corpse out of the house. and Bryn is forced to fend off 2 or 3 more alien intruders, impaling one of them with a broken mop handle and immolating the larger entity when its legs become entangled in her car and she ignites the gas tank, blowing it up. After she returns back to the house, another alien restrains her and places a parasite on her mouth. She then falls into an intense hallucination in which her life is back to normal and Maud is still alive. With great effort, she breaks free from the hallucination and pulls the parasite from her mouth, finding herself in a field. A flying saucer arrives and transforms the parasite into the doppelganger of Bryn, which pursues the real Bryn through the woods. So there's a lot going on with how these aliens are interacting with the human beings on Earth. You know, they're already invading, you know, they've already taken over, you know, the humans. This is like, okay, they're not, it's almost like they're kind of copying you, but they're not copying you, but it's a little bit of a confusing thing, you know, because aliens, you know, in these movies, they have a different way of, you know, when it comes to invading Earth or making copies or taking over people's lives in a sense. This one, it follows the same rules, but it almost like it takes a turn, you know, for, you know, with the interesting part of the plot, you know, with how they interact. The doppelganger then catches up with her and stabs her, but Bryn kills it with a box cutter and escapes to a deserted road. There she encounters an immense alien before being sucked into the flying saucer. She is then physically probed by a group of aliens with the craft, revealing the event that turned the town against her. So this part of the movie is where you learn a little bit more about what happened to her with her friend, her mother, the whole thing. During an argument that she had with her friend Maud when they were both much younger, Maud knocked Bryn to the ground and Bryn struck her with a stone, killing her. The aliens conversed with one another and appeared to agree on a course of action. They returned Bryn to Earth unharmed and free of their influence. So during this whole thing where they're learning more about her past, these alien beings start feeling sorry. They start feeling remorse for the character Bryn, because it's much more than that. They learn about what has happened in this girl's life that's so tragic, and she lives with this guilt, and she has all these people that, you know, they hate her for it. You know, they look at her like, oh, you know, this whole thing is your fault, but the whole thing was an accident. But they look to the girl as if it is her fault. And then sometime later, you know, her mother passes away, and then she's left with the house. So this poor girl, she's living on her own. She's living on her own, and then one day this happens, you know, and then she has to come to terms with what has happened. You know, you learn about what's happened with her. You know, in a dream, she apologizes to the girl. You know, she's sorry. She wishes has never done that. But all is said and done, you know, within this dream state. You know, she got to apologize to her friend for what she had done. You know, there's no hateful moments. It's almost like it's a very teary moment in a sense. And these alien beings, they're watching this and they're like, nah, she's completely broken. She's alone. She needs help. Basically, you know, so they return her to Earth. And then sometime later, and this is the end of the movie, you know, it's like a very happy ending to a movie that seems really dark. You know, it's like you got these alien beings that show up out of nowhere. You know, this is invasion. She's fending them off. She's killing some of the alien beings. Turns out she has a really dark path. You know, she's very depressed. She lives on her own. She has nobody. She has no friends. This is what she like. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, you know, she is shown living a happy life in her repaired home. The other residents in the town are under control of the aliens, and in stark contrast with Bryn's life before the invasion, they greet her warmly. So it's like all these town people, they're all under control by the aliens. They're under alien control. And they're all basically waving hello and smiling with her. And she's having these parties at her house. And she's dancing with this one guy that she has a crush on and everything. And it's all a happy ending. It's all a real happy ending, you know? And there's only, what is this, 2, 4, 6? There's only 7 actors and actresses in the movie, with only 5 words of dialogue that's spoken throughout the movie. But this still is a pretty decent watch. It is a pretty good watch. I will say, like, I did enjoy it. I was pretty hooked into it. At first, I wasn't hooked into it because of the way the beginning was. I felt like this was going to be pretty slow paced. But then I kind of pushed myself into it. And when it comes to these movies, and I understand, when you start watching a movie and you seems like, oh, this movie's going to be terrible. It's very slow paced. Where's it going? Trust me, some of these movies are definitely worth watching because they do pick up the pace at some point. They do tend to get better. They start following a good path. And then you almost regret not watching the movie. I started at one point, then I stopped, and I went back to it like almost a month later. And I'm like, fine, I'll rewatch it. And I did watch it. And it turned out it was pretty good. And I did enjoy it, And usually, when it comes to alien invasion movies, like, I'll watch certain ones because they all seem to be about the same. That's like when you go with horror. When you look at a movie that, delves in the paranormal activity or anything like a slasher movie, they all follow just about the same line of plot. I'll call it that, the same line of plot. Like when it comes to movies about ghosts, there's always a haunted house, there's always a haunted object, there's always a vengeful spirit that haunts somebody for a reason. It's always something. It always follows the same format just about with every movie. Like, I just recently did a review on Talk to Me, and everybody's praising that movie to be one of the best in a decade. When it comes to horror movies, like, no, not necessarily. To me, it's a typical haunted house movie. A girl gets, possessed, or she has these spirits follow her around for a reason, that kind of thing. Movies like that, they're all the same. They're about a dime a dozen. Until you actually find that golden turd, as I'll call it, in the mist. And it turns into something beautiful. It blossoms into something good, and you end up enjoying it. And that's what this movie is. Like, it's very rare for me to watch it. Now, this movie is rated PG-13, I believe. It came out on Hulu, so I believe the movie's PG-13. It's not R-rated. I thought it was R-rated, but it's not. Like I said, there's not much dialogue to it. It's not really gory, but it's an alien invasion movie. It's what you expect. This movie was written on spec by Brian Duffield in 2019. In April 2021, it was reported that 20th Century Studios had acquired the script, with Duffield also set to direct it. It was on an estimated budget of $22.8 million. Principal photography took place in New Orleans. Visual effects were provided by DNEG, etc. This movie was premiered in New York and Los Angeles theaters September 19th. It was subsequently, if I can read it, released by 20th Century Studios as a Hulu original film on September 22nd. It premiered on Star Plus in Latin America and Disney Plus in other territories the same day. The audience viewership of this film, according to Whip Media's viewership tracking app TV Time, this movie was the most streamed film across all platforms in the United States during the week ending September 24th, and the third during the week of October 1st. According to the streaming aggregator Just Watch, No One Will Save You was the third most streamed film across all platforms in the United States during the week of September 18th through the 24th. On a reviewer aggregator website, Rotten Tomatoes, and you all know how I feel about Rotten Tomatoes, they did give it an 81% of 112 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 7 out of 10. The website's consensus reads, a home invasion thriller with an extraterrestrial twist. No One Will Save You serves up more genre fun from writer-director Brian Duffield and proves Caitlin Dever doesn't need much dialogue to command the screen. And that is true. There's very few movies out there that have, a basis of 90 to 100 minutes or whatever where there's little to no dialogue. Take the movie Willy's Wonderland, starring Nicolas Cage. It's practically a Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff, even though the movie Five Nights at Freddy's just came out. And we'll do a review on that sometime in the future. Willy's Wonderland. Nicolas Cage barely spoke a word of dialogue in that film. And it was all about his actions. It was all about his character, his presentation. Like, he played a badass in that movie, taking on these, animatronic killers. And, he's trying to spend the night cleaning up the place, earning up enough money to pay for his car, which, was in a car wreck, So he takes his job, for a couple nights, and, he's just doing his thing. And then something happens, and then he ends up taking care of business, throwing out the trash, and playing a game of pinball while drinking some energy drink that he comes in with, and that's it. But certain movies do prove to be really good when you have a good script for it, when you have good atmosphere, when everything comes together and works properly. Maybe the movie doesn't need maybe it doesn't need dialogue. It just needs, the actor to do what they're doing, and if it's at any chance, pretty good. Just the stance of Nicolas Cage in this movie, he did a good job. And everybody knows how Nicolas Cage is. He usually gets either good movies or he gets real stinkers. He's been in a lot of movies, in the last 20 years. He's got a hell of a library behind him. Trust me. And a movie like this with a girl that I don't even know I don't even know who this girl is. She's brand new to me. Caitlin Dever. Yeah, she's brand new to me. So, and it just, as the review states, it just proves that she doesn't need much dialogue to command the screen. Just her performance. Just her actions on screen, just her character alone. You don't need to talk. Just doing what you do in the movie is more than enough, to win an audience over. Now, the possible future for the movie in September, Duffield stated that though he currently doesn't have plans for a sequel, he could foresee developing one should No One Will Save You proves to be a success. Later that month, the filmmaker stated that he was open to creating sequels. So there's a possibility there could be a sequel coming to it, but we will not see until probably within the following months to a year if he decides to actually work on a sequel. And if there is a sequel to the movie, maybe I would love to see a follow-up with the character, with the character Bryn. Bring the actress back. I mean, if you want to add some dialogue to it, by all means, but, if you follow a formula like this, especially since now 20th Century Fox is owned by Disney, and it's going to be kind of family friendly, how Disney is, their monopoly of woke beings, woke liberals. Who knows what the sequel could bring, if there even is a sequel. But I will say, No One Will Save You is definitely a good watch for once or twice. Maybe more if you happen to fall in love with this movie, guys. Definitely check it out. If you have Hulu, go on Hulu and give it a watch. You're not gonna miss out on any. It's a pretty good movie. You're not gonna miss any time. Whatever. You're probably gonna enjoy it. I guarantee it. My rating today on this movie, No One Will Save You, I will grade it an 8 out of 10. I will grade this movie an 8 out of 10, guys. Go check it out. It's on Hulu now. And today, guys, thank you for joining me for today's feature of Cinemacast, No One Will Save You. If you guys have enjoyed our content right here on the channel, Arrow Entertainment, Like I said, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. If you guys like to watch our podcasts, our game streams, and much more, even though they are uploaded right here on YouTube and streamed on YouTube, you can also follow us on twitch.tv/arrow with a name and kick.com/arrow entertainment. Links are down below in the description section. If you guys want to follow us on social media, our X/Twitter account is down below. You can click that as well. I'm so used to saying Twitter. X is just, it's just so stupid calling it X. Also, if you guys are on Discord and you want to follow our Discord for updates and much more, please, by all means, click that link down below and join us in Discord today. Anyway, guys, we want to thank you guys for joining us today for this episode of Cinemacast. Can't wait to see you guys here next week for another exciting episode. And until next time, guys, catch you right back here at the cinema.